You're tuning into Black and White Sports on YouTube. The no-holds-barred truth on sports. The main event starts.
All right, Black and White sports supporters. Well, coming off of the Jordon Hudson spring practice experience that we all saw yesterday on a very, very, very viral video that went everywhere of her being out on the field during practice, walking back and forth. And, you know, full disclosure, she's some kind of associate producer or executive producer for an upcoming Hard Knocks kind of film, I guess, involving the UNC program and Bill Belichick. I can tell you right now, I'm watching that, all right? But there was a lot of outrage about her being on the field, but if she's got that kind of involvement, like she was pinning a microphone on the Bill, I guess, for filming of that, yada, yada, yada. I just didn't understand the outrage. I know there's a big age difference, and I get it, and this and that and the other. But I'm just not offended by it, I guess, for whatever reason. I don't know why. I'm like, well, he's the GOAT, and he was, I think, married for a long time. I don't know. I don't know exactly. I don't even care, you know? But there is some exposure coming out about her involvement with Bill on other things involving UNC business. And I do find this interesting, okay? The Athletic has gotten a hold of email correspondence, and it was an open records request, so they got 44 pages of emails. And Jordon is copied on a lot of these emails. She's even answered, including a very interesting, I guess you could call it, I don't know if you want to call it an order, suggestion to UNC about how to handle people being critical of Bill, I guess because of her maybe, but about deleting emails where people were calling Bill a predator. Okay. I mean, she's grown and she's 24 years old. But anyway, here we go. The Athletic obtained emails Friday from an open records request. 44 pages provide a glimpse at the role girlfriend Jordon Hudson as Belichick steers a college program for the first time. The correspondence addresses the optics of the NFL legend hiring his defensive coordinator and concerns about social media attacks. Hudson does not have a contract or other employment agreement with the university, according to the public records request. So, and that's the other thing. She wanted there to be less light shown on Steve Belichick, his son, who, by the way, is a really damn good defensive coordinator, was with Washington, and of course, prior to that, he was with the Patriots. It was a head scratch. I'm going to tell you, from somebody that talks a lot of Patriots, I'm a Niners fan, but I also root for the Patriots, all right? I didn't understand Gerard Mayo not trying to keep Steve Belichick as his defensive coordinator. However, I don't know if that was a situation where Steve didn't want to stay because Belichick got fired. But one thing was clear. There was a clear drop-off after Steve Belichick was gone in play calling, yada, 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 right? So anyway, before the Tar Heels announced they were hiring Belichick's son for the same job he held at the University of Washington, Hudson wrote to the school's media team to, quote, raise awareness regarding a sometimes subtle, sometimes obvious, frequently occurring detail within media releases and social media posts. Though, these are all quotes, folks, though Steve Belichick is in fact Bill's son, he should be depicted and represented as his own established, credible entity as opposed to an extension of Bill, Hudson wrote on December 22nd. It can be easily misinterpreted that Steve is simply benefiting from nepotism. That is not the case. Steve was fortunate to have learned defensive football strategy from the greatest defensive mind of all time. He has earned his position due to his performance and output. His defenses are generally pretty good. People forget that about Bill's last year. His defense was still pretty good with the Patriots. If they'd have had any offense, he'd probably still be the coach today. Like that last year, if he could have scored 16 or 17 points a game, they probably would have won 3 to 4 more games. And, I mean, Bill would still be the coach of the Patriots. That's possible right now, believe it or not. Hudson said the school shouldn't use images of Steve and Bill Belichick together to prevent, quote, visual prompts that could be fuel accusations of nepotism. It is really worth emphasizing the point that Steve has the experience of a college defensive coordinator and will bring a plethora of knowledge to the coaching staff, yada, yada, yada. The point is, she did not want anybody with the school to really mention that Steve was Bill's son, period. By the way, they did not do the same with Brian Belichick. She didn't do that and never referenced Brian, the newly hired defensive backs and safeties coach. He came over from the Patriots, 9 years there. That exchange comes 6 days after Belichick asked Prickerill Evans to copy Hudson on emails. The request was made public by the Assembly, an outlet in North Carolina. By the way, Jordon's got 81,000 Instagram followers. Okay. I'm not sure what that's about nonetheless. So then we scroll on down here, and it says most of the emails were mundane that she was copied on. Okay. Emails involving Michael Lombardi, things involving Brady, things involving promotion that Bill might be involved with, right? 60 Minutes, Good Morning America, Charles Barkley's podcast. And Belichick actually wrote back, sorry, I will not be available to talk to Sir Charles. Belichick wrote on Christmas Eve, let's find another time. Okay, so he was busy. Now, this is the part that gets really interesting for me, all right, because I'm not a big fan of squashing free speech. Quote, is anyone monitoring UNC football page for slanderous comments and subsequently deleting it, blocking users that are harassing Bill Belichick in comments? What? I don't like that at all. I cannot believe that UNC would support my being called a predator. Now, I don't love people calling that, but again, free speech, and that can be construed a lot of different ways. I just don't like censoring, period. I don't. Evans responded that the Tar Heels hid or erased a comment about their personal life and would continue to block, ban, or hide similar remarks. The school did not find a reference to Belichick as a predator, and Evans called it, quote, incredibly inappropriate. And as you noted, UNC would never support, in caps, by the way. Hudson does appear to have a professional involvement with Belichick. Email signature identifies herself as Chief Operating Officer of Belichick Productions. Wow. So that's pretty wild. I guess she saw somebody that might have posted something that I guess one comment? Is that what we're talking about here? Referring to him as a predator? Look, you guys know I'm a huge Belichick guy. I just don't like the idea. I don't like the idea that she would be telling their social media what comments to squash and what comments to let pass through. Or I don't like that being told by anybody. I just hammered the WNBA on Black and White Sports 2 for putting together what they called a WNBA hate task force, and that's to squash people being vocal on social media. Well, hell no. I don't appreciate that. Look, these are professionals involved with sports, including college football. They are open to criticism. All right? Plain and simple, it's not always going to be real nice criticism. Fans short for fanatics. Take your lumps. You're making a lot of money. All right? Now, if it gets, I guess maybe there's some line not to cross, right? Involving little kids and things like that, but just somebody, hey, Belichick's a motherfucker and his girlfriend's too young, blah, blah, blah. Come on, stop it. You're going to have fans like that, all right? Now, maybe you don't approve of language or whatever, but you get my point I'm trying to make. I'm not a big fan of that, and I don't think she ought to have influence on it. I don't. Bill either. I just don't think any of them should have any. That should be at the discretion of the social media team. You know? I don't know. I mean, Bill didn't hear a lot of criticism with the Patriots until his last few years. And that was really because his drafts were really bad, not good. Okay. And so, particularly on offense, although, funny enough, a couple of those picks lately actually are starting to look like they may actually do something. But anyway, that's not my point, and you get my point. This was pretty interesting to find out the level of involvement she's got, and she's involved. I mean, that's all there is to it. Chief Operating Officer, Chief Executive Officer. So she's the CEO of Belichick Productions. Okay. I mean, I'm not gonna hate on him for that. If he thinks she's qualified for it, she ought to have the job. I mean, one could say this is the family business. If I had other positions, I could, for example, give my son for him to help me out. I'd give it to him. Well, I mean, that's and if he couldn't do the job, I'd fire his ass. But anyway, tell me what you think. Peace. I'm out. Till next time.
Thanks for watching the show. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Be sure to tune in next time on Black and White Sports.